Anyone? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pardon me, Mayor? I
Yes.
have a couple of residents that would like to speak on this item.
Perfect. Anyone that would like to speak on the item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Joe Morgan, 2063 Wren. I want to tell you,
Good evening.
they did our street. It's magic. It's like a magic carpet. It's beautiful. They came through and did a bunch of curbs. The All-American people, just beautiful. The whole neighborhood was just spotless clean when they left. They did a bunch of curbs and driveways, and they came through, and I guess they came through and did some more stuff because they, look, it's 50-something years old, and it was pretty bad shape, so they came through and did a lot. I can give you some information on the Crossroads thing. I can tell you it's not going to be this year. I talked to them today because it was flooded clear across Ontario today. It was a big mess. They said that they were mentioning that they were waiting on you to approve something. I was kind of curious what that was all about, like which pieces you need to approve of, just for my information. They said once that's done, it's going to be at least a year until they begin the street improvements. So they were foreseeing the street improvements being begun around April of 17. So it's not going to be anytime soon as far as paving Ontario and then having to tear it back up again. It's going to be at least 17 before they start on it. So it sounds like there's still some details that they need to work out financially on that deal. So, what is it that the city needed to approve?
Nelson, why don't you go ahead and give Joe your business card, and you guys can talk about this offline because it's not on the agenda.
It's an agenda item.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
I had mentioned that in my presentation. It's actually an agreement with Edison, and it allows them to move the lines outside the right-of-way, and they need to acquire the permanent right-of-way for that. And so we hope to bring that to council next meeting.
Oh, very good. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Don Fuller. I live at 725 Huntley Drive. I'm up here on the same subject Mr. Montanez and Mr. And Joe back there talked about. And on this, in case somebody in the audience doesn't really understand what this is, there's been a long-standing agreement between Crossroads Church and the city, as I understand it, to widen Ontario between Fullerton and Kellogg. That's my understanding, and it's supposed to be done at the church's expense. My understanding is not a penny to come from the city. Is that right? And it's been going on for several years. The church has been dragging its feet on this for quite some time, is my understanding. If I'm wrong, I'm open to be corrected. So to say that I don't have much faith would be an understatement. And so that's my wonder as well, as what's going to happen with this, because I know it's been going on a long time. And I would hate to see, as Mr. Montanez pointed out, that the city dumps some money into repaving and then, 6 months later, or even a year and a half later, as Joe says, come back and rip it all up and do it all over again, because it's not awful now. And I'm on that street quite a bit because I go back and forth from where I live to 3 or 4 trips a day to Home Depot. So, and that's on a good day. So that was my same thing as well with Mr. Montanez and with Joe. I just wondered about that, because it seems it's been going on a long time. There have been a lot of promises made that have not been held up. So it's all been said. I just want to put my vote in there with those other guys. That's all. So if there's anything else to add to that, we're all ears. So that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, since Mr. Morgan brought it up and Mr. Fuller and you brought it up during your presentation, is there any other information you can give regarding the adding of the additional space on Ontario?
Yes. We did have a condition of approval for the church when they were building their facilities out there to make the improvements in Ontario. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have enough teeth to make them do that. And so what we did, we entered into an agreement with last year, 2015, to say you have 2 years to get this done. And they put up a bond to guarantee it. But the 2 years starts when Edison completes their work. Because we were tired of waiting. We needed more teeth to get it done. We are now working with the church and with a developer that they've sold the property to try to get these improvements done. We're trying to coordinate that work to find out if we can get that done in 2016, but there's no firm answer on that yet. It really starts with Edison. Once we get the Edison agreement done, and Edison gets their schedule to relocate the poles, then we can come up with a schedule to start the work.
So the money is there in the form of a bond from Crossroads. It's just waiting for Edison to do their part, and then we can move forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And just to help clarify a little bit, because I've pushed on this over a number of years, it was at least 5 years ago that Edison actually moved the giant pole at Kellogg and Ontario back to its final position, primarily out of finding a pole, how you find a 30-foot pole lying around somewhere, but they found a pole, and they, I believe, did it at 100% of Edison's cost. And because I felt that having that pole right at the intersection was a safety hazard, so Edison at least moved that pole back because, again, we were tired of waiting for Crossroads to get anything done, and I just could see somebody going straight on Ontario right into that pole. So they did move that back. It's still not the safest spot, but it's better than it was. And then worked with this last year getting that agreement to get this finalized.
Very good. Thank you again, Mr. Nelson. And I apologize, I'm delayed on getting this information to you, but fortunately a couple of people used it. If you would like to make a comment this evening, the blue cards are at the back. Just fill one out and bring it up to Ms. Mobley. When we get to that item, just come on up and speak on the item.